Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1976. We're going to be taking a look at Wishbone Ash and we're going to be looking at their first song of their set in 1976 and it's going to be Runaway. So let's get these guys up on screen and see how they get on.
A man could be till I met a lady, brought me to my knees. The day I stopped loving, it's the day that I died. Now I'm running from a game, 'cause that lady's alive.
I'm just going to jump in here just before Andy starts letting loose with his lead guitar solo, because this track, this performance right at the beginning of the set, you can tell straight away that you're going to hear some serious stuff over the next hour, hour and a half. The link to this is going to be in the description below, so you guys can check out the whole 1 hour and a half that it is in total if you want to. But straight away, the tone we've got on guitars here, and this is how you play with two guitarists in the band. You've got one that's absolutely laying down such solid rhythm and harmony lead as well, and you've got the other who's throwing in those really cool chops but also lead lines where just filling that space with little lead hooks in there is so effective. And just a quick word on Laurie Wisefield with his solid rhythm playing in the background there, laying that foundation for then Andy to play over the top of, but also his lead work spot on with the harmonies and great tone, and just him as a player, considering that in 1974 when he did come in, and that was on Where's the Rub, the first album that he was actually on, for then the next 11 years he really steered that ship in terms of Wishbone Ash and their sound. They really brought those two guitars to the table that was popularized by Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page and the Yardbirds, and took it on. As I said, this is how you do it, because it's so easy to have two great guitar players and totally miss the point. And this is the thing about having two guitar players in the same band. It's easy to get distracted with lead work all the time because it becomes just a guitar sound rather than a great band sound, and using the strengths of those guitarists individually and then putting those two together, because sometimes they don't mix particularly well. The whole thing is super tight, and when I'm talking about the tightness, that is Martin on bass, absolutely locked in with Steve. And when you consider that Martin's laying down those vocals as well, and we're talking about riff-based playing here. This isn't just strumming out the root note of a chord and an occasional fifth. It's just playing those riffs consistently whilst having vocals that aren't necessarily going to complement the timing that you're putting in with the right hand on the bass. So impressive stuff here for Martin to get these vocals down and to be so tight all round. Another thing that's hard to pull off live sometimes is having that dead break with the band and then just having the singer fill in those spaces, because the singer's got to be top notch first of all, but also the tightness of the band. You've got to be dead on with those stops. And again, these guys are showing you how to do it. And when we're delving into the riff work here, we've got solid rhythm playing, laying that foundation, but then Andy plays the riff over the top in the intro, and he just applies such cool wide vibrato in order to express with the riffs. And it's something that both guitar players can do in this band, and it gives such a great feel and groove to the riffs. Listen to the groove when we start up here, and the way that Steve isn't pushing tempo. If anything, when we get into the riffs, Steve is holding back tempo so we can really get into the groove. And that is the sign of a great drummer, because so often with riff-based material, you'll find drummers that start to push the tempo and you lose that feel and the groove of the riff. But let's get back into the performance. And there we have it. I mean, it's only 3 minutes and 21 in length in terms of opening up the set, but that is stating your intentions. We've got an absolute tone fest here. The way that Andy lays down that lead with a tone that is still almost, it's not really heavy, but it's hard rock. It's right on that edge of being classic rock, hard rock, but not too heavy. It's hard to describe it because it's exactly where you want it. Just giving you that sustain, but still having the clarity. He's getting into the playing, really solid blues lines, really solid minor pentatonics. And it's just that expression that with the vibrato that absolutely sells it, so that he could play for 5 or 10 minutes just over a basic scale, but always make it sound interesting. And this is something that happens all the time when the lead guitarist comes to the front of the stage, and when he's laying it down like Andy can, he really is that center of attention, whereas the rest of the band fly under the radar, whereas they shouldn't, because there's such solid rhythm playing going on in the background here, and Martin and Steve on the same page in the pocket, but then that rhythm that Laurie's laying down, absolutely spot on, and the phrasing in the rhythm as well, so important, so that you can concentrate on that cherry on top of the cake, which is the guitar solo. If everything underneath that solo wasn't absolutely solid, it would ruin the effect of having that guitar solo in the first place. So hats off to the rhythm playing going on in the background here. And considering that original sound that was provided by Ted Turner with Andy Powell on guitars, Laurie does a great job coming in and filling that slot, providing such great rhythm, but also such great lead, because in this video, he only would have been in his early 20s, maybe 22 or 23, so already a great playing ability considering his age. And I know that they've been through their fair share of lineup changes throughout the years. I think this lineup went on till 1980, and Laurie actually left the band in 1985. And in 1987 is when all of the original members of the band then got back together. And when that original lineup got back together in 1987, the next album they released was called Nouveau Calls, and that was an instrumental album. And I think they were surprised at how popular they were, and they went back to playing huge venues just like they used to do in the 70s. And it wasn't really until 1990 that things started to change, because Steve Upton, one of the founding members playing drums here, he announced his retirement from music, and I think that was a bit of a shock to the rest of the band. And then the next year in 91, Martin Turner on bass and vocals, he left as well. And then in 93, Ted Turner also left the band, so that just left Andy Powell. Even having said that, when Steve Upton retired in 1990, Wishbone Ash have still released 10 albums. But Wishbone Ash, one of the first bands to introduce that dual guitar sound, but also to set the bar for other bands who might have two guitarists, and they set that bar high. So it's no surprise that guys like Steve Harris from Iron Maiden have cited Wishbone Ash's sound as a major influence on him, and also they were cited by Thin Lizzy. So just goes to show how great they were at doing it, but really did show other bands how it should be done. But thank you so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one.